Hi you guys, it's Lynnea with the reveal of the Pink and Main Crafty Courtyard Christmas Kit. Now this kit is not part of their subscription. This is separate and it is limited edition, so you're going to want to head over to the Pink and Main store and grab a kit while you can. So let's take a peek at what is inside. Of course it's going to come beautifully packaged in this pretty pink polka dotted box, and then it's wrapped in tissue paper on the inside. As you open up your kit, you're going to see the zippered bag, which is so fabulous. I love that Pink and Main gives their kits in these heavy-duty zipper bags. And then there is some cardstock. So the colors of this kit there's some classic colors with the red and the green, but the green is kind of like a citrusy green, and then there's blue and pink. I am so in love with the color palette of this kit because you can go traditional or you can go with non-traditional colors. In addition to the regular cardstocks, there are two colors of their sparkle sheets, red and green, and these are fabulous because you can die cut them and the glitter doesn't rub off. Super awesome glitter cardstocks. So as you open up your zippered bag, there's so many things in here. First, you're going to get this little card that tells you the color palette of the kit and everything that is inside. I'm going to be using this later on because that truck on the front is just too cute. So the first thing that I saw in the kit here are these tags. There's 6 of them, 2 red, 2 with the white with the red chevron at the bottom, and then 2 with the gold glitter at the bottom. So tags are perfect for Christmas time, and I love that there are 6 of them included in this kit because you can switch it up and do a whole bunch of sentiments on there. I'm going to be using them later on because I thought they were super awesome. There's these little wood veneers. There's a moose, a reindeer, some bells. Of course, there's the sequin mix, and this mix has the gold confetti pieces. There's like clear stars in there, but then there's bigger ones, holly leaves and reindeer as well. There's a pack of 9 buttons, and the colors match the color palette of the kit. There's these glittery rhinestones, and they have 3 different sizes as well. Pink and Main silver stars, 3 sizes of those, which are great for adding embellishments to your card. I like when there's different sizes. There are these paper flowers, and then there's ribbon, and this at first I thought was kind of like candy, but as I opened this up to work on a project, those are like chunks of glitter. This ribbon is so pretty and sparkly, and you'll get a closer look at that later. You're going to get your flare, which says Be Merry, and then you're going to get 4 ice rink envelopes. The paper pad, this kit, is called Be Merry, and we're going to take a look at that in just a second. You're going to get this Derice embossing folder. I didn't end up using that in this video, but it is a super fabulous item. I love when there's embossing folders because you can easily create some quick and easy cards by just embossing cardstock, and then even if you add a little bit of ink over the top, you can get a really awesome look. Okay, so here is the Be Merry paper pad. There are double-sided sheets in here, 24 sheets, so 12 patterns, and then they're double-sided. The color palette in here is so great. Look at all of these blues and pinks, and even the green is like I said, like a citrusy green. So fun for Christmas. So I'm just going to flip through those. Those are all of the patterns, and then the stamp set is the Be Merry stamp set. I am in love with this truck and with the Christmas tree in the back. My family and my son and my mom, everybody loves pickup trucks. And so I am actually probably going to color up a whole bunch of those trucks and make Christmas cards for my family this year because I know that'll be a big hit with them too. So in preparation for this video, I sat down and I stamped out multiples of each of the images in the stamp set, and I colored them all differently. Some of the trees I did a more citrusy green to match the cardstocks. Some of them I did a more pine green to be true to color. And then the pickup trucks I did red and blue. I feel like those are like classic color pickup trucks. So let's start off here. A lot of the cards I'm going to be making are simple and they use the pattern papers. So to start off here, I'm just going to cut down a striped background, and then I'm also going to be using a strip of this blue and white snowflake pattern paper. I'm also going to grab a rectangle of the striped cards or pattern paper and just kind of layering these together. And I'm going to end up taking these pattern papers back over to my paper trimmer and trimming them down just a little bit. I thought they were a bit too wide. I didn't really measure anything. I just kind of cut off 1/4 of an inch at a time until I got the width that I wanted in my head. I'm using that green car that I colored ahead of time, and I'm just arranging everything on my card how I think I want it. Nothing's glued down yet, but this just helps me use my stamp platform so that I can stamp a sentiment and get perfect placement. I'm using the All Hearts Come Home for Christmas, and I will stamp that in VersaFine Onyx Black ink. That's my favorite ink for stamping on top of pattern paper because sometimes the sentiment gets a little bit lost, but I find that if I use the VersaFine ink, because it's such a crisp and super black ink, it shows up well when I use it on pattern paper. To finish off this card, I'll just go over the trees and the presents in the car with a little bit of Spectrum Noir clear shimmer pen, and that will finish my very first card for this kit. Card 2 is one of my favorites that I made, and I'm going to start off with a piece of watercolor cardstock, and I'm going to be stamping the mistletoe all the way around this cardstock piece, and then I will stamp a sentiment in the middle. The mistletoe image that I wanted to stamp is small, so I thought it would work better if I cut the watercolor cardstock down to 4¼ inches square. So I cut that down, and then I ran my powder tool over the whole thing because I'm going to stamp in VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is a pigment ink that stays sticky for a little bit so that I can add some embossing powder over the top. That way I can use my water-based markers on this watercolor cardstock and get a watercolor look. So I'm just going to go all the way around stamping this little mistletoe image so that it looks like a wreath around this card. I'm going to be coloring today with my Staedtler felt tip pens. Like I said, these are water-based. So usually when I color with these, I add down just a little bit of color and then blend it out with a water brush. But today, I'm just going to keep things simple because these are small images, and I'm just going to add color just like I would color with any marker. For the red, I'm not even doing any blending. I'm just adding it into those little berries. But then for the green, I will use 2 colors of green. So I have this darker kind of pine green, and I'll just go in really easily here. You can see these leaf images are small. So I just added 1 line of shading, and then I'll come back in with more of an olivey green and blend that pine green color into the edges of the leaf. Really, really easy coloring. And when I was done, I went around it with a light blue image and outlined each of those little mistletoe images. I thought that just helped make them pop off the card. I trimmed down 1/8 of an inch from each side of my colored panel, and then I added that to a piece of the light blue cardstock from the kit. I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says "Meet me under the mistletoe" right in the middle, and I added some of those silver stars just to accent the sentiment, and that will finish my second card. For my third card, I'm going to take advantage of the pattern papers. When I create cards, a lot of times I have little strips of patterned papers left over, so I'm going to show you a way that you can use those. I'm taking a piece of the 1½ inch purple tape, and I'm folding that over onto itself and taping that onto my grid work surface. And then I'm just going to arrange all of these little skinny strips. They're all different widths. No, I didn't measure. They are 3½ inches long, but the widths are all different. So I'm just going to arrange those onto my work surface in a pattern so that it kind of spaces out the colors so I don't have a lot of green clumped together or a lot of blue clumped together. And then once I have that the way I want it to go on my card, I'm going to use that purple tape and my grid lines to easily stack all of these together. So I have them laid out face up on my work surface, so I'm going to flip them over and put them face down onto my purple tape so that I have all the back sides of my pattern papers facing up, And I can easily, once I have all of these spaced out and lined up on my tape, I can go ahead and just quickly add liquid glue all the way across the backs of these strips. And I use that tape because now I can pick it up from the ends and I have all those strips lined up perfectly so that they are spaced correctly, and all I have to do is just press that adhesive down onto my card and then slowly peel back that purple tape, and here is my super awesome background. So fun. I love the way these paper strips look, and it's super easy to do with the purple tape. For my focal image, I'm going to be using the wreath, and I stamped and colored that previously and just used my scissors to trim around the outside. I'm going to be stamping the All Hearts Come Home for Christmas. It's my favorite sentiment from the stamp set. I'll stamp that right in the middle with my black ink a couple of times just to make sure that that gets super crisp and black. And then I will add that onto my card with some foam tape. And I did add some of those silver stars and those pink rhinestones for a bit of added sparkle and embellishment. So let's move on to card number 4. I'm going to be creating a shaker card. When I saw this wreath, I thought how fun it would be to color it and cut around the outside and then stick my scissors up through the middle and cut out the center of that wreath. And now I can create a shaker card. So I added some double-sided adhesive around the back side of this wreath, and then I added a piece of acetate onto that. From there, I will just create a simple circle using some foam tape. I'll go around the edge of that with my anti-static powder tool just to make sure that the sequins don't stick. And then I'm going to dump in a bunch of these sequins, and they were super staticky. I am wearing a sweater that just kind of attracts sequins and attracts static electricity. So I'm going to dump a bunch of these in, but then I end up pulling out the larger pieces, the reindeer and the holly leaves, because they were just too big. The shaker area is small, so I will set those back into the bag and save those for a later project. Once I'm done, I realized that I forgot to stamp my sentiment onto my acetate. This really should be done before I put together my shaker, but I forgot. So I'm going to just take out that foam portion of my MISTI, and that way I can just add my whole shaker element into there, and I'll be able to stamp the sentiment on top. Now here you see me using my StazOn ink, which is a black ink. They do make a white one. I don't have it, so I thought that I would stamp in black, and it was just, the sentiment was getting lost against the sequins. So I used an alcohol wipe and just erased that ink that I had stamped onto my acetate window, and I went back with Versamark ink and some white embossing powder and white heat embossed the sentiment onto that shaker frame, and I liked that a lot better. So now I'm going to take the sparkle sheet, the red one, and I will use the reverse scalloped rectangle die set from Pink and Main and just die cut out the largest A2 sized frame. And then I will also cut down that blue and red holly paper to fit right behind that frame. I'll just glue those together, and then I'm just going to simply assemble my card. I use liquid glue for everything. I don't think I use tape runner at all in this video. I'm finding that I'm reaching for liquid glue more and more because it is quick, and for me it's more cost effective. So I'm just going to add that background piece onto my card, and then I'll grab my glue and I will add the shaker portion right into the top center part of my sparkle sheet frame, and that is going to complete card number 4. This is probably one of my favorites. I just love how this one turned out. My 5th project isn't a card, but I decided to use the tags that came in the kit, and I'm going to be using 4 of them. I'll be using the 2 with the gold sparkle at the bottom and the 2 with the red chevron. The red tags I'll set aside, and I'll use those for another project at a later date. I wanted to add the little mistletoe image and then the sentiment "Meet me under the mistletoe" because these just fit so perfectly on the tag. So I used Versamark ink and some black embossing powder and some gold embossing powder. The tags have a slick surface to them, so I thought that either StazOn or Versamark and embossing powder would work best, and it did. It worked so perfectly. I'm just going to add the mistletoe images onto my tags with some foam squares. And now here's where I'm going to be using the ribbon that came in the kit. I'll just cut off a small portion of it, and then I can kind of roll up the one end so that it'll feed through the hole at the top of the tag. I will fold that over onto itself, and then I'll use a little bit of baker's twine from my stash to tie a bow around the base of the ribbon. These came together really quickly, and I made 4 super cute tags so quickly, and check out all that sparkle and shine on that ribbon. It's really, really fabulous. For my next card, I told you in the beginning I'm going to be using this little red truck because it's so cute. It matches the one that's in the stamp set, but I love that there are lights on the tree and there's that checked pattern on the pickup truck. So I'm going to cut out this truck with my scissors, and I did end up also die cutting the sentiment with a stitched circle die from Pink and Main, but I didn't use it in this video, but I did keep it in the back of my stamp set so that I can pull that out and use it on another card project later on. I'm just going to complete this card very simply. I'm going to use this diagonal striped pattern for my background, and then I trimmed down some strips of cardstock that I had left over from some previous cards, and then I will stamp the Be Merry sentiment over the hood of the truck. I thought this sentiment worked very well because it was sized perfectly for the card. I decided to heat emboss it just for a little pop of white in my card. So I used my anti-static powder bag, stamped it with my Versamark ink, and then I heat embossed it with some fine detail embossing powder. Just to finish up putting this card together, I added those strips of pattern paper with some fun foam behind it. I'll grab my T-square ruler just to make sure that I add that onto my card straight. And then I will add my pickup truck on top of that. And I did add some foam squares behind the body of that truck. And the wheels, I just used some liquid glue because they will sit right on top of those strips of pattern paper. So for me, Christmas cards need to sparkle. So I grabbed my clear Wink of Stella, it is my Spectrum Noir shimmer pen, and just added some clear shimmer all over the truck and onto the Christmas tree, and that gives just enough sparkle to make me happy. So let's move on to card number 7. For this one, I decided to add those sparkly buttons. I'm not usually an embellishment type of person, but these buttons were so glittery and pretty that I decided to try and use them. I added a piece of the red dotted embossed cardstock from the kit onto the bottom, and then also some of this green and pink and red snowflake pattern paper from the Be Merry paper pad on top. I must not have cut my card base quite straight because there was a little bit of the paper hanging off the edge, but that's no problem. I just trimmed it off with my scissors. And then to cover up that line where the two papers intersect, that's where I'm going to add a row of these buttons. And there's 3 colors and 3 different sizes of each, so I'm just going to try to arrange these so that no color is next to each other and no size of the buttons are next to each other. I'll adhere those with liquid glue just to make sure that they adhere well to my card. For the sentiment, I really struggled with placement because I wanted to use this little clump of pine trees, and I just couldn't figure out where to put the sentiment on my card. I felt like no matter where I put it, it was out of place. So I decided to just heat emboss that sentiment right onto the trees. That way I didn't have to find a specific place for the sentiment. Instead, it's incorporated right into my focal image, and I ended up really loving how this card turned out. Just to finish it off, I played around with using those pink rhinestones, and in fact, in the video, you're going to see me add them on here. But in the end, I very carefully peeled them off. I thought they were just too much. A little too excessive for this card. So I did add some of the silver stars onto the points of the trees, and I added that onto all 5 points of the trees. And then, like I said, you'll see me add these pink rhinestones, but in the finished product photos, you'll see that I removed them. For my last card, I'm going to be using those reverse scalloped frame dies from Pink and Main again, but these ones are the squares. Square cards are super fun for me because I feel like it's a step away from the norm. I love doing gatefold cards and square cards, circle cards, because I think it's unexpected. Even a square card, it's easy, but it's not what we usually see in the card making world. So I die cut that reverse scalloped square frame from the green sparkle cardstock in the kit, and then I'm going to be using the red pickup truck that I colored, the little clump of trees, and then I have that little holly sprig that I will add to the back of the pickup truck as well. I'm just gluing everything down with liquid glue. There's enough dimension, I think, in the images that I didn't want to add foam squares, and that way I can easily send this through the mail to any of my friends. I also added a flagged sentiment to the top left corner of my frame, and that is going to finish this card. And now let's take a peek at all 8 of the projects that I made today. As I'm showing them to you, remember that this kit is not part of the regular Crafty Courtyard subscription. You will have to purchase this kit separately, and it's limited edition, so make sure that you head over to the Pink and Main store. I'll leave a link in my video description below, as well as on my blog, so that you can purchase this kit for yourself. I would love to know which of these 8 projects is your favorites. I definitely have mine. I love the ones with the reverse scalloped squares and the rectangle, and I love that first one with that little green car and the mistletoe card. Those are probably my favorites. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Leave me a comment below, like I said, telling me your favorite project, and you can head over to my blog for product links and some still photos of these cards. And I will see you all next time. Bye!